the Legends of Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mints. Muscle Mints is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. And don't forget to try our new Carnivore flavor, Rocket Pop.
Oh, damn. Whoa, this is it right here.
Wow, this is protein? Delicious.
This is too good to be protein. Woo, we about to change the game with this one.
You're gonna love it. Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I am Jon Andersen. With me always my partners in crime, Nick Best and Akeem Williams. We have got a killer show for you today. We've actually got a wrestler. This guy has been the champion of just about every fucking federation known to man. And he is, right now, he is one of those guys, he's everywhere. And on top of that, this is one of the dudes that I hung out with the most when I did my time in Japan. My man, Machine Gun Karl Anderson, welcome to the show. What's going down, my brother?
My brother, thank you guys for having me. We tried to do this a couple months ago, and a lot of people in this whole COVID Corona thing that went on, obviously that stopped the whole world. A lot of people lost, they weren't as busy, right? They stayed home a lot. My shit turned like into insanity. Fortunately, fortunately, I was busy. Like I was almost like, my wife just texted me today and was like, I'm really missing you. And she doesn't say that often. And she does not say that often. And she's like, you're on the road so much now. And I'm like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Yeah, being on the road, it's tough. I mean, God, I remember way back when it was, being on the road with your young kids, that was a challenge. Sounds like now you got things worked out a little bit more with the family, which is great to hear, brother.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it's hard to explain really, because I mean we were in Japan a lot back. I started in Japan in 2008, and then John came over. I think was it 9 or 2010?
Yeah,
did you come over
2000. There? I think it was 9. End of 9, I came over.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I had my first baby there back in 2010, and 5 days later, I left for Japan for 6 weeks, and
oh my gosh,
it's kind of. And then I had
wow.
I can tell you, I have 4 boys now. And I had my second son December the 7th of 2011, and I had to leave 3 days later, and I was gone for Christmas. So it's those little things that they kind of fuck with you when you start to think about it a little bit. But hey, daddy got to pay the bills, baby, and they get it. And the boys get it. The boys get it.
And now the boys get to watch you on TV being the fucking champion. What's better for a fucking young boy than watch their dad on TV fucking knocking the smack out of people?
That was cool. That was what, when we went to WWE, that was probably the coolest thing for them, just being able to, because I was in Japan, right, all the time. They didn't really get to see. They couldn't see it. But then all of a sudden I was in WWE, and then we go to the amusement park or something, and I started to get recognized because that was the first time they'd seen that. They're like, oh, shit, Daddy is pretty cool now. But they're over it now. They're completely over it now, though. They don't watch Daddy's stuff. They just like, they know that Dad does this, and Dad's just Dad now. It's pretty cool, man. I couldn't imagine if my dad would have been like Ric Flair or something. I would have been crazy, man.
So, are you drinking a beer there, bro, fella? Is that okay? Because speaking of this,
last night.
I was going to say, because this guy, when we were in Japan, he had a beer in his hand just about at all times. And basically, kind of a funny side note story. One day, when you go over there, you kind of get challenged. Everybody wants to see if you're a strong drinker, Yeah. And so basically, you got to kind of put your foot down and let people know that that you can hold your own when you need to. But Chad and I, we had our own little thing. We called it, what did we call it? We called it the Strongman Invitational. So every 2, yeah, that's right. So basically, what you tell the story. How did that whole thing start? The Strongman was my wrestling name.
So I liked it. Sorry, I'm sweating because this Japan's very humid, and like the air conditioning doesn't even. That's another weird thing about Japan is they don't turn the air conditioners on until May the 1st or something like that, like in all the hotels. And so
Really?
like, it's hot.
You're in the Dome Hotel, Tokyo Dome, correct?
I'm not in the Tokyo Dome Hotel. I'm in Shibuya. I'm in the Shibuya.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, fuck, the Tokyo. They got that shit on all the time in the Dome.
Yeah, no, it's this is a different hotel. This is very Japanese where they control everything. So it's like I'm burning up. But so I think a lot of cultures are built on drinking, right? But Japan is really they love to go out and have their drinks. And then when you're a young, I started here as what they call them young boys. When you're like, when you're the younger kid or the underneath guy. And they just force you to drink, man. And I was like, bring it on, bro. So I just learned how to start smashing beers. Then I started getting cocky with it. And I started telling people I can drink with anybody in the world. I said,
that was his line. I can drink with anybody. It was always I finally said one day, I was like, that's it, dude. We're fucking going toe to toe.
John goes, I've had enough. Fuck, let's go. So we start smashing these. We go out, and I mean, John can smash beers. So we're about 10 beers deep, and I don't know who started it, but I'll just go with the story. We're about 10 beers deep, and he's talking shit to me. I look at him, and bam, I slap him across the face. And he goes, "You
right,
really?
This is right in the middle of a restaurant with the sponsor that's letting us eat and drink as long as we want for the day. So we're supposed to be behaving. Remember?
Now we were fucking with each other the whole time, and he's like a big brother to me. So it wasn't just out of nowhere. I wasn't ready to fight him. It was like I just kind of had enough, and I went, "See?" And he goes, "Oh, okay, you little shit." He takes me, and wham! He smacks me and almost kills me. So the next thing I know, we're smacking each other the whole night. I wake up the next day and
in this restaurant.
In this restaurant.
I wake up the next day and my jaw is sore. I'm hungover. I've been throwing up the whole morning. I said, man,
he threw up in his heater. He threw up in his heater in the middle of the night, and the thing turned on, and it's like made this room smell like puke.
So my room smelled like ass and ketchup, man.
So basically, the new sport of the smack sport that he just started with you guys.
It started with us, man. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but then a couple of other people that were with us, they were like a couple of Japanese guys were like strongman and machine gun, too crazy, like little boys, too much slap, too crazy. The strongman. Don't drink.
How did you and John not get arrested?
They like when foreigners do stuff like that. It's like we weren't breaking anything, They like when they guys act up like that.
Their culture, totally. Their culture is so laid back. They would never act that way. So for them to sit and watch this is great.
Just love it.
So when you go out to eat, not only you're eating and being entertaining as you eat because you're eating so much food, you get to be doubly entertaining because you guys are smacking the heck out of each other when you're eating.
Hey, listen, I don't know what got into me to make me think to smack John. I mean, so I guess it's a good thing that I got sick of him fucking with me, so I had to slap him. I guess so at least I stand up for myself.
Oh my gosh.
Well, when you're over there for 3 weeks at a time, sometimes by the end of the tour, you're a little fucking nuts.
You're going a little crazy.
Yeah.
But John, I don't think you had to wait for the end of the tour. You're just kind of that way all the
time. True. One of my bosses. He's my boss now for Impact Wrestling. He came over. He came over at the beginning of a 3-week tour one time, and he hung out with us in Tokyo the first 2 days. We just landed. We hung out for 2 days, and then he left because he had to do business. Then he came back on the final day. And he still tells a story. He says, I was there with Machine Gun and Gallows that first day, and they were funny, they were sweet, they were calm, we were having a good time. I came back 3 weeks later, and they'd been there for 3 weeks, and those guys had lost their fucking minds. They walked in the room. It was a mess. There were beer cans everywhere. We were talking crazy. I mean, you start to just kind of go loopy, man.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, it's great. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful country, but when you're over here, it's when you're over. It's very, very different. Like this, you got a tuna can, right? This tuna can it looks like it doesn't. How do you know it's tuna? It took me 8 years to figure this out.
Really? So you open a can and don't even know what you're eating. Listen,
I gotta make sure it's not cat food.
You are in the land of sushi, though.
Yeah.
Well, Well, the hardest thing going over there, for me was trying to find, keeping food, because I was living off fucking hard-boiled eggs, because I'm trying to keep my nutrient value up, and it's not like just to eat. I could literally take a dozen hard-boiled eggs, put them in my cargo pants, and I was just walking around with fucking eggs in my pockets all the time. Because anytime I was hungry, I just fucking pull an egg out. Remember, Chad, I got in trouble on the bus. Gato came and said, "Hey, you're leaving eggshells on the ground," and they didn't like that. So I just said, keep in mind, this is a culture where when they tell you to do something, if you don't do it, they'll just fucking cut you loose. That's just the nature of and I wasn't one of those. Chad was one of the stars. I wasn't quite there, in terms of my place in the company. So I just literally started eating the fucking eggs with the shell, but just put the whole thing in my mouth. Yeah.
Oh.
I watched it. I heard it.
That's dedication.
We sat beside each other on the bus for these. You take long bus rides. It's just the way it is. It's a small country, and you could fly here and there, but a lot of times it's easier just to get on the bus and they drive the bus for you. So we'd sit there, and it would be. I remember it'd be just say it's 11 p.m. or something. We got a 4-hour ride back to Tokyo from Osaka or something, and I would just hear a crunch. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, I'm curious, John. How did it pan out in the bathroom after that?
Actually, I had no fucking issues with it, to be honest. Because
no. Let's ask Chad. Chad, what was his gas like?
Well, his gas was the worst of all. I mean, just the worst.
And he was always egging me on the bus. He's like, "Come on." He's all
literally egging you on.
I would fart on the bus, and the Japanese would get so offended. They would be so upset. They would just be like, they're looking back like they can't believe what you just did.
I can see the paint coming off the wall.
See, the first time, when he first got there, John's a funny, charismatic guy, right? Well, the first time he ripped a fart up front, he starts wafting and he's laughing, right? He thinks it's all funny, right? And it is funny. It is funny. But the Japanese boys are looking around, and you see the anger on their face because they don't like it. So we had to tell John, hey, you gotta keep those farts a bit of a secret, bro.
And then, of course, Chad's always egging me on. It's like, come on, let another one, because it was just the looks on their faces was priceless. It was just straight up entertainment. When you're on a tour bus ride, it's one thing if you're going to sleep, but if you're on the bus and you can't go to sleep, you're trying to find the shit that we would do to entertain ourselves, including a bottle of water, just so that I could fucking basically try to put a little pressure on the fucking system to push one out so we could sit there and be entertained.
Oh my God.
Nothing's better than when you rip one and you start looking around, you see their heads start turning. But then it was either me or John, so either me or John started getting in trouble for it. So we started feeling uncomfortable farting, so.
Oh God. So that's pretty much what it was like to travel on the plane with Eddie Hall.
Okay.
Because Eddie would just let him go on the plane, and it just green gas just flying there. You just see people's heads just jerking around. So I totally feel your pain. Totally feel your pain.
There's no possible way that you can hold out that shit in for lengthy periods of time, nor would I want to.
Yeah, that was back when there was. I haven't been on the new buses yet. This is apparently they have new buses now, but they didn't have bathrooms on the old buses. So you'd have to hold everything until they stopped. It's like that's pretty intense.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. WWE, when we would land in England or whatever, they always had buses for us, and there was always bathrooms. So that was like a change for me. So I just was smashing because you can't drink on those Japanese buses because if you got to pee, you're in trouble, man.
So they just won't pull over when you need to pull over.
I mean, yeah, they'll ask you to pull up. One time we got stuck in traffic. I remember John had to take a shit.
Oh my God.
That?
I remember that. Yeah, we were coming home. It was supposed to be like a 4-hour drive, and it turned into like a 9 because we were sitting. There was some sort of a fucking wreck, and we were just sitting on. We're in the highway going nowhere. It's like a parking lot. I swear to God, my ass was going to split open with that turd coming out of there.
Well, we thought we were going to have to slow down and have you just shit out the door.
I was like getting up to the front, like, look, I'm just going to hang it out. I won't get out. I'll just hang my cheeks out the door and let it go. And they were like appalled. They were appalled that I was even wanting to talk about it. But I was like, okay, I'm either gonna take a shit on the bus or outside the bus. What's it gonna be?
I think they found the McDonald's and then jumped off the bus and waddled to the McDonald's. And the way the boys laughed when you were pinching your cheeks, brother.
Because my deep cheeks can only protect from so much of a slip up. You let something like that go, you're gonna mess your trousers up.
Oh, sorry. This thing's gone way off.
Yeah.
So tell us without you can keep keep the innocent, keep their confidence, but tell us the story. You don't have to tell us the federation or who it is, but tell us some sort of a crazy backstage story, brother. I know that there's a lot of shit that happened when we were together, but hell, you've been all over the fucking world with all the best companies. Talk to us.
Oh my God, there's just I'd have to think of something somewhere to how to figure that one out. There's just so many. I mean, fuck, I started wrestling in 2002, and I was in the independence the independent scene for must have been 6 years, I guess, and then finally New Japan hired me in 2008. Damn, I can't even. I mean, there's just so many, Johnny. I can't even.
What's the craziest stunt you've ever done out on the ring? What's the most insane thing you've done out on the ring?
Oh man, I remember there was a time
you've had to do some stuff that's just nuts.
I mean, there was a time in Osaka, Japan. We wrestled the Dudley Boys, if you've heard of them. Team Bubba Ray Dudley and Devon Dudley. I think they had just left the WWE and they were in a company called TNA, and we had a hardcore match against them for the tag team championships. I think one of the first times we challenged for the titles. And I remember I went to the top rope and I set this ladder up and I put Devon on the ladder and I went to the top. It was the first time I did something like that. Because I'm not a crazy. I've been fortunate that I've been able to do what I've done without and be the size that I am. I'm not massive or anything, right? I'm a normal size guy, and I don't do a lot of flips and shit. So I kind of I'm lucky. I'm fortunate in that sense. But I went to the top and I looked around and I saw how high I was, and I was like, oh fuck! So I was gonna splat 15 feet below.
Oh no!
And I jumped, and Devon moved, and I went through the ladder, and it sliced my ass. But I just remember jumping, and I don't know what, because I'm not a daredevil. I just remember being scared to fucking death. But
wow. So you went through the ladder?
I went through the ladder. Ladder broke. The ladder broke, and I landed on the floor. I mean, this is probably 16 years ago now. I think about it. Jeez.
God damn. Time flies.
Wow.
Well, so let's back up, because see, Chad's got one of the best stories in terms of just a guy who loved wrestling and just started off. Like you said, he's not a really physically big guy. And at the time, obviously, now he's really good with promos. He can talk up a storm. That's what he does. He stands there in sunglasses, looks like a badass, and talks. That's pretty much his job now. Gets paid for fucking talking smack, which is great. But there was a time when you weren't like, so you came up, basically started off just loving wrestling. Talk us through that timeline, because we always loved it on the show. We loved to show people how you think you can't do it, but you somehow make it. And you are that guy. I mean, this is a guy who literally almost had to quit because he had no place to go. So tell us talk the timeline through, brother.
Yeah. So I grew up in North Carolina, and I got a scholarship to play baseball at a Division II school called Mars Hill College, just a small Baptist school. They gave me money to play. They paid for my school to go. So I went, and my second year of college, I just, I knew I wasn't going to go pro in baseball. My freshman year, I probably set a record for striking out. I also was just thinking about wrestling all the time, and I just could have cared less about baseball. But I saw this special on MTV called True Life. They have there's a series that they have. It's True Life. I want to be a pro wrestler, and I watched it, and I was like, whoa, there's an actual schools. I didn't know there were schools. This was in the year 2000. There's or 1999. So there's actual schools here. This is crazy. And they followed a school around in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I quit school and I moved to that, and I left North Carolina and I moved straight to Cincinnati. I didn't know anybody. I got an apartment and I started training at that school in Cincinnati, man. And I started wrestling independently until 2005, I'm at just, little small shows, wrestling for free in front of 50 people or 8 people or 10 people or
like the high school gym scenario is basically
high
what
school
it comes down
gym.
to.
I mean, even in high school gym would have been a nice thing compared to some of the places. if you name anywhere, I've absolutely wrestled there in front of for no money as well. And then somebody told me to move to Los Angeles because there was I didn't have a girlfriend or kids or wife or anything. And they said there was a good school in LA that could maybe help me get to Japan. And so I moved. I quit my job in Cincinnati and I moved to Los Angeles. And I started living in this thing called the Los Angeles Dojo. It was affiliated with New Japan. And I was sleeping on the ring and on the outside of the ring for the first couple months. And then I made myself a little bed up in this upstairs part, but it was on an old weird mattress. And I was there for 2 years, man. And still, again, I'm 6 foot. I'm 210 pounds. So I'm not this physically imposing guy. Of course, I'm a normal human, which I always like to say. You look at John, look at you guys turn heads immediately. And I turn heads now. I get it. But I just walk into a normal room. If I walk into back then, I walk into a room, nobody, you're not looking at me going, what, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think I had to study or I had to work really hard with the training and I had to work hard on trying to figure out, which avenues I had to do. I think I had a real good natural ability of and I loved wrestling all that. I loved professional wrestling since I was a kid. I followed it my whole entire life. So I think that helped with just being a natural at it. And finally they saw me, New Japan Pro Wrestling saw a tape of me and they asked me to come over for a 3-month stint. And that was my big break in 2008. I had probably had $75 or $80 in my account maybe left. I was so I flew to Japan with probably $25 in my wallet and nothing, not much. I was pretty broke, man.
Was it something before that where something happened with the dojo and you lived with Rocky because you were going to quit and Rocky's like, no, keep going or something like that? Was
there's so I kind of skipped over. Yeah. There's there was a time. So Shinsuke Nakamura, who's in the WWE now, is a big star. He was a New Japan Pro Wrestling guy. He asked me to go out to eat one time. I was living in the dojo, and I said, Shinsuke, I'm okay. I'm gonna chill here. He goes, please come. I said, I just don't have any money. And I didn't want. It wasn't that I wanted him to pay or anything. I just meant I was good. I had some protein. I was cool. And he goes, no, come with me now. So he drove me to an ATM, and he goes, put your card in ATM. And I was like, nah, man, I don't have any money in it, Shin. And he goes, put it in. He yelled at me and shit. All right, fine. So I put it in. He goes, hit balance. I hit balance. And it was $14 or something, right? And he goes, wow, what happened? And I said, fuck life. I don't know. I was just because they didn't want me to work anywhere. They wanted me to train at this dojo and just independent wrestling just was the way it was, And I moved back to I went back to Cincinnati for Christmas, I think to see my dad. And Rocky called me. I was like, hey, when are you coming back to Los Angeles? And I was like, man, I think I might just stay inside. I think I might, kind of give up the LA dream or whatever. And he goes, no, man, come back and stay at my house with my mom. We'll take care of you for the next 6 months and just see what happens. And when I went back, and that's when I started, weird things started happening. So, you got to have an opportunity. People have to take, you need some help sometimes, right? If you can find, if you just get if you can get little assists from people, you can tell that maybe that means you're a good person because people are going to, if you can just be a good person, people will help you. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what helped me along the way. Is just in that, people didn't give me anything. They didn't give me any jobs, but it's just fuck, this guy's, I think people saw talent in me. And so they would give me, so I got help and got opportunities. And then when you get the opportunity, you got to fucking knock it out of the park. Right. And so that's kind of the way it was. And I was in New Japan Pro Wrestling for 8 years. And then WWE came. I went with the WWE. We made a lot of money in WWE. It was awesome. There for 4 years. We signed a massive deal. And then COVID hit and we got released. And then we signed with Impact Wrestling, AEW, and now New Japan. Again, it's a wild, long story of being in all the different companies, man. It's really crazy.
And just to kind of clarify what he said, he made a lot of money at WWE. When I talked to him, he says, hey, I said, how's it going? He goes, they just re-upped my contract. He goes, it's life changing. So, that's when you're in that place and you're in the right spot at the right time where he was, one contract changed his life,
Yeah, it did. And that was another interesting thing too, because once we did sign this big deal that was life changing, but then COVID hit, and then we got released, and I wasn't expecting that. I'm over it now, but it made me pretty fucking hot. I was pretty pissed off about it, and I've spoke about it a lot, but it almost inspired me more because we had the last 2 years during this COVID thing. It's 2 of the best years I had financially, and 2 of the best years that I've had just having fun and kind of reinvigorating myself for with what I love to do. And it's just wrestling has just always been my favorite thing.
So you said you talked a lot about what happened. Are you still free to talk about that stuff now? I don't want to infringe on it.
Yeah.
So
we had
So lay it out. Obviously, there's a little frustration in there. What happened? Because WWE's like that. It's like that. That's like the peak of the mountain, and obviously they're really known to kind of recycle people, meaning just kind of take you and throw people away, bring them back on at a lower pay rate, all sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah,
so let's hear you talk, brother.
Well, our contract. Our time in WWE was great, right? It was fun. Made a lot of friends, traveled the world. Then our contract was coming up, and we weren't sure we wanted to stay there because we weren't all the way happy with some of the creative stuff or whatever. And then, out of nowhere, some of our best friends were starting this new company called AEW, and they offered us an amazing deal to go there. So we're going to let our contracts ride out and then go to AEW, and we could start fresh and be with our friends and have a good time. But then, WWE came and really, really, really pressed us and pushed us and offered us some fucking life-changing money. And we were like, we took it. So I thought I was going to be a WWE guy forever. And so I fucked my friends over a little bit with AEW. We've made up. Is that the way? Yeah, that's the way to say it. We've made up now. We're still friends again. But I fucked over my friends at AEW to go back to WWE. And then as soon as COVID hits, then we got the call and got released. And I'm good with it now, but then it was I realized it's a business. It is what it is. And that's the only, what do you really do? It's just, I know for sure one thing it did is it motivated me because these last 2 years, like I said, were better than the years that I had there. So I think you can take those, because I used the anger, or not the anger, but
disappointment.
I was pissed. Yeah, whatever it was. Frustration of I fucked my friends over to sign this, and then we get this call, and it's but you can use that though to
motivate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and not use it in a bad way where you turn into it.
Yeah.
I think I might have taken it some different routes at times. I didn't need to, but if you can bottle it up and use it the right way, I'm completely over it now, and I'm good with it, and it motivated me, it helped me, and I think my kids got to see it too because they saw Daddy at the top of this mountain, and then they saw me get fired, and they saw me pissed off, but then they saw the resurgence of me going to AEW, and then seeing we debuted on Impact to this massive buy rate, which was awesome, and and all the things that we've done now, and then now the return to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's maybe so they can learn from watching what I did, what I went through, and how you can deal with setbacks, because life is part of, you're going to have setbacks, right? So you got to learn that not everything's going to be beautiful and perfect. I'm learning, because so it taught me a lot, and I'm it's weird. I'm glad that I'm glad that it happened, honestly.
It's almost a story of just picking yourself up after something bad happens, and a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people stay down. Life hits them hard, they stay down. But
I'm seeing. Yeah, it's the truth. There's a bunch of people that got released in the last couple of years now, and there's a lot, and there's a lot that have not resurfaced. They just are gone. They're almost out of the business, or they've even sent me and Gallows text messages what do I got to do? It's there's nobody really, because you don't. Some people don't know what to do outside of the WWE. It's you gotta hustle it up, and you gotta make these relationships with people that. As soon as we got fired, Scott D'Amore at Impact Wrestling within 5 minutes was calling us and telling us he wants to get on and offer us a job, and it was so it's making those relationships with people through the years that like I said,
and it's being a good person and doing that and developing that. Yeah, absolutely. You can see it's working for. I mean, and the resilience. The kids see the resilience and they'll learn from that. Yeah, and they'll be able to handle challenges in their lives too. That's a great thing to teach as a father.
Well, the day that I met Chad, I'm coming into this new company, and New Japan was where I wanted to go. So I'm first day on the job at the place where I wanted to be, and I meet Chad. One of the first, so obviously we're Gaijin, we're the white people, so there's just a few of us. And so of course we cling together, and so I meet Chad for the first day, and he was so nice. Like to the point where I was like kind of looking behind me like, fuck, is he talking to me? It's just, but he's just so sincere and so nice. Once you realize that's him, it fucking draws you in, because you don't find people that are, this is a dude who will do the right thing because it's the right thing. And that's just it. And you don't find a lot of that anymore, and it's really cool. I'll tell you, me personally, I feel very blessed that I had a chance to become friends with Chad, because he's one of those guys that, there's not that many people that will do the right thing because it's the right thing. And Chad is one of them. Nick, you're one of those too.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ak and I think we try.
Listen, bodybuilding is a little bit more cutthroat, so
yeah.
I don't know, man. Wrestling's pretty fucking nuts.
I believe it, man.
I think I think the best way to look at it with wrestling is like it's not real, right? It's a work. So that's the biggest thing is like sometimes you got guys that will sneak in there and like you're always trying to change the creative meeting or this or that because it's not a real fight. Like John could whoop my ass, right? But I had to beat him a couple times. And I'm thinking like if he didn't want me to beat him, he ain't gonna let me beat him because it's gonna.
Okay. So how does that work out? Because you see that, like, being a fan of wrestling, massively when I was younger, and now you look back and you see Hulk Hogan talking about Andre the Giant, going, "Yeah, if Andre didn't want you to beat him or wanted you to do something, it just didn't happen."
Yeah.
So how does that work out, and what's that process like?
Well, I guess I would say go ahead, John.
I was going to say, let Chad tell this story because I was a shitty wrestler. I was never a good wrestler. I didn't have all the time. I was never a fan. I just came in there, basically jumped from strongman into wrestling just because it was a bigger platform. So Chad is the guy that's going to answer this question with some meaning.
But John, you were good though, especially with such a little experience.
I showed up to where I was working with Chad. I had been only wrestling for like 9 months, and most everybody else had been wrestling for 10. A lot of the guys I'm in the ring with have been wrestling for fucking 10, 15 years. And so
there's a couple. There's one good match that's still I believe is still on YouTube on New Japan Pro Wrestling put it out. A match we had in Sendai, one of our first ones was great. It's really good. But if John didn't want me to so here's the thing now. It's such a business now. If John didn't want me to beat him, he probably would have gotten fired, right? So it's like it's just or he never would have gotten brought back. So you got to play ball sometimes.
Because the bookers say, look, Chad's going over, which means Chad's winning at the 10-minute mark. And then we basically figure out how to tell the story. So we got to figure out how is the crowd going to believe that this guy beats this big fucking monster. We have to make it believable. That's how it goes.
This little shit can be.
Wow.
The match that we have on YouTube, I'll send it to you. But I think that's you actually beat me there. I think with wrestling John now, you've learned once you have enough experience. Like I would make John just look like a fucking monster, and then move out of the way of something and roll him up as fast as I could, 1, 2, 3, and run away. You know what I mean?
It'd be a surprise attack type scenario.
That's what you're doing. It's all about telling. It's all about telling the story. Which is the fun part. I think John looks like John's this big monster, beat the fuck out of me for 10 minutes, and people would be going nuts. And then I move out of the way, roll him up, and run away with a big victory. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is actually smart.
Yeah,
then it becomes believable.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And see, here's the best thing, it was like Chad, and there was a handful. There was Chad, there was Matt, and then Ferg, these are kind of there's a handful of gaijins, and they all kind of figured out pretty quickly that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So they would basically protect me in the ring, meaning that like Chad would talk me through it. You know, he'd be getting up, I'd be pulling him up, and he'd say, hit the ropes, I'm gonna duck one. You know, he'd just be telling me what to do as we're working in there. So it's actually there's a lot of communication. And when you got someone that knows what they're doing, they can really fucking guide you, you know?
So hold on. I thought you guys choreograph everything before you guys get in the ring. You guys are doing it on the fly.
We do some, but here's the thing. I can't fucking remember a full 10 fucking minutes. He can. So I know. So, you know,
it's even crazier now, John. Like, so New Japan, they're not as strict about the times, right? But now I've learned a whole there's 3 or 4 different styles of it. But I've almost learned this. I learned this new style of, or a different style. It's the TV wrestling, right? So in WWE, you get 8. Say you get 8 and 8, right? Well, that means you've got 8 minutes. You got to plan 8 minutes, and then you got to go to commercial. So a minute before commercial, you got to think of something you can do that's going to pop the people quickly, and then come to a break and stop so they can get a beauty shot of you before you go to commercial. Then you go to commercial for 3 minutes. Then when you come back up from commercial, you got to be doing something else. So you got to hear that you're live now. Here we go. Let's do something. Then you got to finish it within 8 minutes. So now you got to learn how to hit these times, or else when you go back, you're going to get in fucking trouble, right? Like Vince is going to yell at you, or you're going to get in a lot of trouble if you miss these times. And then sometimes you get in the ring and you think you have 8 minutes on WWE television or whatever television, and they tell you, listen, you've only got 5 now. Hey, you guys got to go now. You got to go because something happens during a commercial or whatever. You start losing time. So now you got to think on the fly. So you can't choreograph at all, because if you start
and keep in mind, the ref is telling him that. So he went in the ring thinking he's got 8, and the ref says, "Hey, guess what? You got only 5 now." Fuck, and he's got to somehow figure out how to tell that story with 3 minutes less on the fly.
Yeah, and
so that was the question I had that people are going to wonder. How do you keep track of the time then?
Yeah,
so telling you what the time is?
They'll have somebody in the back, they'll have the time that say you got 8 minutes. They'll be watching it with the stopwatch, or they'll be watching it with, usually if it's on live USA television, right, or live Fox, they have somebody telling them, and then that person will relay it to the referee in the earpiece, and he'll relay that to us, and then we're trying to talk to each other, and it's a pretty cool art to know all that's going on and not always seeing the boys talking, right? Because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Once you figure it out and learn it, and then it's an art, man.
I mean, some guys are so good they can literally be talking to another guy, but they're not moving their fucking mouth. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so you guys are gassed too, right? You guys are physically gassed and trying to breathe and do all this crazy stuff at the same time. So it's physically demanding. You're doing all the crazy stuff, and then you keep track of that, then you keep track of the TV. Then that's a lot. That's a lot.
One of the hardest things that was hard for me to learn with such little experience was to control my heart rate, because it's exciting. Fucking people are going nuts every time, and when you're moving around, you got to go. But then when you don't have to move, you got to fucking settle yourself down quickly so you can get your win back. Because if you just went in there and you'd lose your heart rate, you'll blow up. That's the term. You blow up, and then you can't fucking give the facials. You can't. The art is gone.
Dude, that's talent, man.
Yeah, no,
It is talent.
It's pretty badass.
Well, and the best CC for me, the only thing I had to do was fucking scream and flex my muscles. So that got me out of a lot. That got me out of a lot of fucking. I got out of a lot of shit, because that was kind of my thing right there.
That's easy. That's what you're good for. That's worth it. I mean, that's the money though.
Oh my God.
John just got all the money shots.
That's it. That's all you need. I learned a lot from John though. Like I said, we got the chance to sit on the bus together a lot and just bullshit and just talk, and I learned a lot from the guy. I'm just a smart dude.
That's awesome.
Well, we traded knowledge. He helped me how to keep my job in wrestling, and I helped him with shit that I knew outside of wrestling.
Yeah, 'cause when I first met John, I just only been making money and like not even making real money for 2 years because I didn't get a job. Like I said, I didn't have any money until I was 28, right? So when people start getting worried about not having money or not having a job, I didn't even have a full-time job until I was 28 years old.
No. Wow.
So, yeah, it's crazy. And I didn't make real money until probably 36.
But then when you make it, it's boom.
Oh, baby, it's nice.
It comes in hard and fast, all in a short period of time.
I'm seeing it. My wife just told me what my bills were last month, and I went, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, that's good shit. Yeah, no, it really is an art, and I'll tell you that like Chad is one of these guys that's done it so long. You know, he can work in the ring, but he's also got really what pays you the most is the gift of gab. He can cut a promo when they can put the mic in your hand and you can entertain people. That's now he's basically selling storylines, and that's even they pay even more for that. The guys that some of the guys that were made the most were the best on the mic. You know,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what you're saying is to all the young kids out there, get good at talking on the mic and talking smack and having a conversation and being entertaining as you're doing that, and you're probably you got a shot.
You got a shot. If you can, like, I think people can look at me like, I think a lot of times they look at NFL guys or bodybuilders or professional athletes to come into wrestling, but a lot of times those guys don't always work out just because wrestling is I mean, it's just so different. You've got to be able to talk. You've got to be able to get in the ring and wrestle. You've got to be able to not mind being on the road. And that doesn't always work out. And like I remember WWE a couple times, they stopped looking for independent guys like me, and they started hiring, kids from football that didn't make it to the NFL or whatever. And like it didn't work out for a while, like because I don't know what they're doing now or where they're at, but it's a weird business. You got to kind of like have this weird love for, or else it doesn't always work out.
One thing, brother. One thing that most people they see the shows. Right. So explain, especially in WWE, that's a massive travel schedule. Explain what life is like on the road. So people don't understand you're flying here, renting a car, driving there. So let's just say you leave your house on what day and talk about how everything unfolds for a week. So people can understand the rigors that you go through in terms of being life on the road,
It was almost because I got so used to being in Japan where we would be 3 weeks, 3 weeks on the road in Japan and then about 10 days at home, a month on the road in Japan, and then like 8 days at home. So I'd miss a lot of time at home. So then we signed with the WWE, you're on the road 4 to 5 days a week, but I was home 2 to 3 days every single week. And my kids were like, "Look, this is great, Dad. Like I'm home every single week." It was weird. It sounds like it's a lot, and it is, but to be able to be home every week, I started getting to know my kids more, and like it was really cool. But for example, you leave on Friday morning and you land in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then you pick up the car in Cincinnati and you wrestle in Cincinnati. Then you drive to Columbus, Ohio, and Saturday you wrestle in Columbus, Ohio. And you got to rent a room, so get a hotel. Then after Columbus wrestling, you drive to Cleveland and you do a Cleveland show. You wrestle there, and then you drive to Detroit where you do Monday Night Raw, and then you do Monday Night Raw live in front of everybody on TV. Then Tuesday morning you fly home. Then you're home Tuesday, Wednesday, then back out again Thursday, and that's basically what it was for 4 years. I mean, it's like it's and then you go on a European tour where you go to England and Germany and you wrestle every single day for 14 days. It's an intense thing, man. It's nonstop, and the injuries are real.
Now, is somebody coordinating all this?
But it's great. It's fun though. It's for me, being in Japan. Sorry, what's that?
Is somebody coordinating all this, or do you got to go get the car yourself? You got to go to the hotel, check in, get the hotel yourself.
Yeah, the hotel's the hotel's yourself. So you're an independent contractor, right? So you get your own car, you get your own hotel. But then but it's a weird schedule because you get paid for each show that even though you're on this salary, you also get paid for each show. So like the hotels and the cars are all is paid for in ultimately, but you're paying for that yourself. But you got to pick up your own car, book your own room, and I mean, so like a lot of times I just say I land in Cincinnati on Friday morning. I go, oh shit, I got to rent a car. I'd forgotten to rent a car, so I got to rent a car at the airport that morning, you know, and then figure out where we're going to stay that night. It's intense.
Wow.
Well, and here's the thing is that, like Chad, he was signed into a big whopping contract, so he had plenty of money. But a lot of guys that get put on the road, they're on that base salary. So by the time they get done with the road, there's not a lot left over. You know, and that's where a lot of the, you know, a lot of guys get in WWE and they don't have that big money contract. They're spending a ton of what they're making just trying to stay alive and on the road. You know.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's changed. I think that's changed now, though. I think the money is finally popped up.
Oh, is it?
For them, yeah. Back in the day, it was less, but yeah, the money's better now.
I was gonna say you better keep track of all your receipts, man. If that's what you're doing.
It's all right on.
Yeah. I just put it all. I put it all on the same card.
Okay.
And then I just watched that whole card, and it just I can't imagine what the boys had to do with
John.
this.
Yeah, back in the days, yeah.
John actually just got me to start doing that.
Okay.
So, you got to write everything on. Yeah,
Well,
I wrote everything off.
An American Express, man. It's basically a 30-day interest-free loan that you pay off every month. Everything you spend goes on that card, and that's all your write-ups are built right into one place. It's so easy.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Even here, I'm in Japan. Like I'm in Japan now. I'm just using the same card for sushi, for the Family Mart, for the convenience store, everything.
How much is on that card for beer? That's what I want to know.
You know, I've almost switched to like red wine. I've gotten abs a couple times in my life now, like good defined. a good set of abs for me, and each time I've had a really good set of abs, I've cut the beer out, and I sip on like I either drink red wine or like, you know, Tito's vodka or something. But man, I love firing back beers, man. Not even for the buzz, just because I truly love the taste of a nice ice cold beer.
I mean, when we would go, like after a show, we'd go to a sponsored dinner. It was killer, because they'd take you to these really nice fucking restaurants. We're eating Kobe beef and hanging out all night, and everything's paid for. I mean, just sitting after a match, you're hyped up from the crowd, going in there and sucking back some beers and having a great dinner. It's just something about it. You just kind of want to. It's just a good feeling, you know. The taste of the beer. It's like this familiar feeling of like it's a good place to be. The good night work, great food, couple of beers. It's like that something in your head. It's like a little dopamine release when you have that beer, you know.
Yeah, especially when you're on the road, man. Fuck.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. So what's been the most strenuous company in terms of what's been the hardest to work for, brother?
You know, I think when I look back on it, I mean, I love my time in Japan for sure, but that one would have to have been the hardest travel schedule, right? Because I have 4 sons, and I had my third son. I was thankfully I was home for all the births, but I had the third son, and I think the next day I flew to Canada for a New Japan show, and then I went to Japan for like a month, and I only seen him. I left my wife and the new baby in the hospital. So I don't remember, and we were so that we had this thing called the Bullet Club, and it started getting really, really, really hot in Japan. So they wanted us there even more. I was probably in Japan 200 something days. Like I don't remember my third son as a baby much, and that's kind of like I don't enjoy that part. But I mean, you know, that would have to be
I think both me, Nick, and John, we got to give your wife a huge shout out, man. She arrived.
Oh yeah.
Hey, she's good, man. She was a trooper. I'm telling you, I gave her a hug and a kiss when she had a C-section with the third one, and then I was like, all right, I'm out of here. I gotta go make a town, baby.
Oh my God.
She gets it, man. We've been through the ringer, but at the end of the day, like she gets it. She gets the schedule. She's messaging me right now, mad about the baseball. All my kids are good baseball players right now, and she's mad about the league because she just wrote me, I'm so furious with this baseball.
Yeah, she was involved in when you were kind of coming up. So she's been involved in kind of all levels when you were just grinding it out, just trying to get to where you are. And then she's also been, now that you're at the top. So she's been through it. She's been with you the whole time, man. It's really cool.
Hey, one time I took her to dinner, right? Way before we were just dating probably 15, 16 years ago. And I said, I took her out to eat. Fuck, the bill came and I looked at the bill and it's like $100. And I went, oh boy. And I said, hey, you got this? She goes, yeah, I got it. Yeah. I only had 40, 45 bucks in my account or whatever. You know? I didn't know it was going to be that much.
Times have changed, brother. Times have changed, huh?
Thing, So I'm sure it changed.
And that's the beautiful thing is that, you know, you're that perfect story of a guy that shouldn't have made it, but you just stayed strong and stayed true to what you're doing. And now you're at the top of the top, brother. That's fucking great shit.
Yeah, man. No, it's when I look back, I mean, it is a cool story, man. Like it's something I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. It's all I ever the thought of it. All right, the thought of it's all I ever wanted to watch when I was a kid. I watched, you know, from 5 years old. It's all my favorite thing ever.
So who's the craziest wrestler that you've ever known since you've been in the business for a long time? Who's the craziest wrestler you've ever run across?
Jesus, there's so many. I'd have to look back. I mean, I always bring up, hey, John, listen, man, you're high up there, bub. I mean, you're
whose room were you afraid to go in the most? Like if you went into somebody's room, you wouldn't want to touch nothing. Who had the scariest room?
Well, of course, John's.
No, dude. When we would pull into a certain town, right? Basically, because we would always go to these loops, so we were in the same hotels every time we tour back in that region of Japan. People would write down what room I had the last tour, and they didn't want that room.
You got to remember, there's every bodily fluid all over that room.
Yeah. That's John.
Hey, he said at the Tokyo Dome Hotel, he said he would write down whatever room number John was in. He said, no way he's going to go in that room. I mean, I got my partner now. I've been on the road with since 2013. We got a great thing going with Gallows, Doc Gallows.
Gallows is nuts, man. He's nuts.
He's insane, and I don't like staying in his rooms, man. He's a very strong manish. He's very much like John.
So Chad's got this. He's got a ripping fucking podcast. It's really fucking cool, and he had me on. It was probably a couple of years back.
Oh yeah,
geez. And Gallows, that's his partner and his partner on the podcast. Gallows has his fucking wife sneak in where you under the camera and fucking gives him a blowjob right during the goddamn show. and Chad was the one that picked it out. He's all, God damn it, what's going on over there? And he's like, oh, nothing, you know. But he's crazy.
He's insane. Yeah.
What was that, brother?
Yeah.
You broke up.
He was trying to be smooth. He was trying to be smooth about it. But it was like, what are you doing? I mean, can we not just have a podcast here? Like, can you just wait?
This is Gallows. We're pulling out of a hotel. I can't remember what hotel we were pulling out of, somewhere in Japan, and he's in the back of the bus, and he's back there, he's reclined, and he's got this big fucking white pillow behind his neck, right? And we're about 10 minutes away from the hotel, and the driver gets a call, and then basically turns around and says, hey, Gallows, did you take a pillow from your room? And he's all, no.
Oh my God!
He's so nuts. He gets away with it because he's so nuts. You know what I mean?
Everyone just laughs.
Yeah.
That's funny.
There's stuff. There was one time on the bus in Japan. There's a referee named Uno. He sits right behind me. and he loves his hat. He always has a red hat on. Well, I ripped a little silent but violent fart, right? And I feel it wafting through the bus. I go, oh boy, oh no, I know, and I'm going to take the heat for it because everyone knows it's either me or John, and John wasn't on that tour. Well, Uno sits up, he slaps me in the head, he goes, stinks. He throws the window open, and his hat goes flies right out the window.
Oh
no. Channel double fuck, you double fuck, stink, and my hat fuck. so many insane stories like that to even.
Yeah, you know, and it's also, you know, we were talking earlier about, like, Nick, you asked about, like, big, nasty, crazy shit. Sometimes it's not even big, nasty, crazy shit that fucks you up. My tag team partner was a guy named Nanabu Nakanishi, and he fucking broke his neck in the ring. That was kind of what ended. That's kind of what ended our run. They were pushing the shit out of us. Once Nakanishi broke his neck, he was in the hospital. He actually was partially paralyzed. He regained, you know, but he was never the same. But it's crazy. Sometimes it's not even the stuff that's crazy that hurts you. It's just an angle is just a little bit off. Your chin's not quite tucked enough, you know, and pow, you know.
There's a Japanese wrestler. There's a Japanese wrestler over here now. His name's Otani. For a smaller company, he just hit his head on the turnbuckle, and he didnn't get up. And they had all the fans get out of the arena, and they're stretching him out.
Really?
And he still hasn't moved yet. Still, I mean, he's lost all feeling. Yeah.
How did he hit? How did it unfold? How did he hit the buckle? What was he doing?
He took a German suplex into the turnbuckles and just the bottom of and he hit the bottom turnbuckle and it popped it like that. And he lifted his head up and he put his head right back down and he didn't move again.
Wow,
it's scary, man. That's the scary shit that and that's something so little that it could happen to any of us. It's not something that. So that's why it's you got to take every day, baby.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of an inch that make all the difference. You know, if he was positioned a little different on the turnbuckle, it would have went okay. Yeah, so it was probably a spot that was supposed to happen. The spot fucked up, correct?
Yeah, just a couple inches higher or lower, he'd been fine. You know.
Yeah, I understand. I almost got killed at World's Strongest Man in 2017.
Fuck.
Tell the story, brother.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, Payman was flipping. I was going out. We were getting ready for Fingo Fingers, and you talk to the guys, and you get the crew to come out with a little cart, and you flip the first or the second finger over. And the guy from Iran didn't know any English, and I had just flipped the first finger over, and I was like standing there, and I hear just Colin just start screaming at me. He's like, "Nick, move, 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 move." I took a step back. The finger just slams. Misses my face and everything probably by this much. It would have just split my head open.
Oh, it would have crushed your skull.
I'd have been deader than a doornail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's scary, man.
Yeah, it's crazy just how one little movement, one person doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, and that's the end.
Yeah.
So
it's scary as hell. Jeez.
Yeah. On a brighter note, he also carried the shield 60 meters, the 440 shield 60 meters, and dropped it, and which made Sojournis had to carry it 60 meters, and he didn't make it. He dropped it at 54, and I went 74 and a half or something like that, and won the event, which made a tie, and I won the heat and made it to the finals that year. So
there we go.
Because the guy still made the finals, so it's kind of one of those things.
You won on a day you could have died. Fuck.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I won on a day I could have died. Yes.
That's a good way to look at it, right there. Oh shit.
Yeah, could have gone either way, baby.
So what do you think in terms of your career, brother? I mean, you're rocking right now. Looks like they're booking you in a real safe way. How much longer do you think you can go? You're 40 now, right?
I'm 42 now, man. I feel
42.
I feel great.
Christ.
Shit goes quick, doesn't it?
Fuck. God damn.
It goes quick, baby. We signed a 2-year deal with Impact Wrestling. Our contract with them is up in July. There's lots of stuff going on. We're back in New Japan now. We're not sure exactly what exactly what's going to happen or what, which company it's going to end up in. But I've been happy with Impact. And how much longer I have in the ring? Honestly, I don't know, man. I could see myself. I mean, knock on wood as always, but I feel good. I feel as good as I've ever felt, and taking the bumps and wrestling the way I've been wrestling always. I haven't changed anything, and I still feel good. So I mean, I'm not going to put a limit on it, right? I'm going to keep going until I'm going to keep going. Now I can see myself doing another 8 years, honestly.
Good for you, brother.
I don't see why not. As long as if they're gonna, and I'm going to keep getting paid, I might not ever retire.
There you go.
Well, I mean, if you stay, you keep your skills on the mic, they're going to keep you around, brother.
That's what I'm saying. If you ever heard of a wrestler called Abdullah the Butcher, old school brother,
Yes.
man. You look him up sometime. He was cool, man. Well, I met him in Tokyo like about 10 years ago, and he looked back at me and he said, "People keep asking me when I'm going to retire. If they're going to keep paying me, I'm never going to fucking retire." And I said,
exactly.
So brother, you're one of these guys that's been really good about building business outside of the ring. You've got your podcast and you got some other stuff going on, like your I haven't seen much, but you told me about your cartoon. Yeah, talk to us about what's going on with what you're doing outside the ring, because we did. You're really creative.
Yeah, we have a cartoon called we have a podcast called Talking Shop, which fortunately did really well, and we got it on the platform called Blue Wire Podcasts. We have a cartoon called The Gimmicks that just got picked up by I'm not sure the name of the production company, but Toonstar bought it, and then Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis's production team turned it into an NFT world Discord type thing, and so they bought it. So we're getting paid through that now, which is just a crazy cartoon where we're just being us, and they animated us, and it's just a lot of R-rated cussing and funny wrestling. But it's basically been this podcast. Shit like that. There's a right here, Max Effort Muscle, maxeffortmuscle.com. I bought into a brother named Corey Gregory. He was one of the starters of Muscle Farm. I think I brought him up to you, John, a long time ago. We ended up connecting and becoming friends, and he's like a mentor to me too now. And so,
nice.
So we're business partners in that supplement company there. I'm a little minority owner, and just keeping on. I'm trying to get into real estate. I'm gonna start calling John about that.
Yeah, right on, man. That's good, because it's good to see. Obviously, a lot of times athletes of all types, they don't prepare for life after whatever the sport is. And obviously, right now, to see you, basically parlaying and leveraging what you got outside the ring is great. You'll probably end up staying, because of your mic skills, you'll probably stay getting paid for a long time. But just in case, you've got these other streams set up. That's fucking good shit, brother.
Yeah, you gotta have different avenues of ways to make money, right? And I want to be able to lay beside by my pool and not have to do shit, when I don't want to. When I don't don't have to, don't want to. I want to lay down and relax someday. So we'll see. We got to make it all now.
There we go. Mm-hmm. But so quick shift of gears. Chad was one of these guys it was so fun, because on days off, and sometimes even if we had a night show, we had time, we'd go to the gym, we'd train. And Chad would be one of these guys, I'd goad him into training with me. And I'd just burn him up. It was great. But I didn't just do it to him. I did it to everybody. But there were a couple times where I get Chad training, and it would be 10 minutes in, and he'd just start getting those big fucking yawns, because the dopamine or whatever, the endorphins are releasing. But this is a guy right here. He will make you laugh no matter where you are. That's the best thing about Chad.
I mean, he's making me do these rear delt things. I mean, just way too many of them. I mean, we're on our 30th set, and I'm just going, oh shit, I'm just dying, yawning. Aren't we? We got to be done.
But I was known
to
do that.
5 more sets. Let's go.
I would train with guys before like the day before a match or the day of a match, and then they'd get in there and they would like borderline not be able to do their stuff. You know, what was that? Remember Kozlov? Remember Kozlov?
Yeah, he couldn't walk.
So John was trying to pull the Arnold route on you guys.
Yeah.
And this one kid was a Russian. He was a Russian kid. Like, says, bro, I made a big mistake, man. I did legs with John. I can't fucking walk. I have to wrestle tonight. Fuck. And he was so mad. Like his legs weren't working.
Well,
that's funny.
But then sometimes you'd get fucking legitimate badass studs like Shelton Benjamin. This guy, he was he was an NC2A heavyweight wrestling champion. So he was a legitimate fucking badass, you know?
Yeah.
And, known to be one of the best athletes that ever worked in WWE, So of course, at that point, that's just me wanting to fucking, burn somebody up that's known to be fucking really good at training and whatnot. And, but that's just kind of the fun competitive training stuff that's fun. And then obviously if they're not used to training like that, then they get a little tied up and they can't do their stuff in the ring. But for me, it was great fucking comedy. I used to love it,
Yeah. You taught the boys a lot about training and eating and all that shit on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's just, because on the road, everybody's eating fucking McDonald's and all sorts of shit, and it was just so easy to give some people tips when, fast food is one of the best, it's one of the most regular things they're eating, but, that was, those were fun times. I got to tell you, the times that I spent with Chad over in Japan were some of those were fucking good times, man. We had a good time over there.
Yeah. Some of the best.
That was fucking good. That was fucking good shit. So let's switch gears, brother. So if you can get into a time machine and you can go back to some point in your life and give yourself a piece of advice, how far back do you go and what do you say to yourself?
Man, I guess I would probably go back to probably 25-year-old, 26-year-old Chad and say, don't quit. Don't stay the course. This shit's gonna work out. Because I used to think I always thought I would make it, right? I thought I would because I thought I was talented enough. I felt like I was talented enough, and I heard people say that I was talented enough, and like not believing it, or not believing my own shit or anything like that. But just when you're good at something. And I just knew I'd be good. I knew I could make it, but then I was like, I wasn't seeing anything happening. So I started. That's why a couple of times like, fuck, I need to quit this shit. Like, I don't think it's gonna work out. If I could just go back and just be like, hey, don't, because there's probably some days when I probably was acting depressed or like being sad or feeling sorry for myself. I think I would go back to 25-year-old me and slap me in the face and say, enjoy this shit. Enjoy the journey, man, because I look back now and I miss some of those days when I was 24, 25 years old thinking, fuck, am I ever going to make it? Am I ever going to make it? Like, who gives a fuck? You're going to make it. Just enjoy this time right now. Like, enjoy the time you have with your father, your dad, your mom when you see him, like your little brother. Like, just enjoy life and fucking know that it's all going to work out. Just try to live, man. That's
a good piece of advice, brother, because obviously you didn't quit. That's where you are, but to enjoy the journey. That's a piece of advice. That's powerful shit, because I think a lot of people can look back in their journey and realize, God damn, there was a lot of stuff that I could have enjoyed a lot more because I was so worried about, the destination, So
exactly. And I think I've heard that. I've heard it a lot before to like enjoy the journey, but like I can't stress that enough now. I look back on some of those times when I was, quote unquote broke or whatever, but like, if I could just slap that kid and just slap that motherfucker, like slap with a strongman slap and say, just enjoy this time. If you're gonna be all right, enjoy it, man. Like, that's what I would tell anybody now that was coming up and had talent. Like, just enjoy the journey, and it's gonna work out or it's not, but just enjoy it.
Yeah, right on, brother. Well, you've touched in the wrestling business, myself being a perfect example, man. You just being such a good person, you touched influenced a lot of people just by just how great of a person you are, So the question here is, when you finally pass, you're known as a great wrestler. You've held belt in just about every fucking company that there is known to man. So what do you want to be remembered for?
Man, that's a good one. Jeez, I'd want to be known as a hard worker, someone that worked really, really hard, and was a good father. That would be important to me, man. Because I mean, even with the times that I've had to travel and I've been gone so much, I think my kids would still. I don't think they think my daddy's always gone. It's like we're always in touch. When I'm home, I'm present, and like so that would be the coolest thing. Like, to not even. I wouldn't even care if it was like he was a superstar wrestler. Like, just to know that I was a hard worker and I was a good dad.
Yeah, that's good, brother. That's good shit. Yeah.
And the damn good
right along with.
One of the only motherfuckers in the world that looked at Jon Andersen and went.
That's awesome.
And he did. It was just so out of fucking nowhere. We were sitting there. I don't know. He said something, so I kind of turned.
Enough of his shit.
We're sitting side by side. I turned, and he just fucking that hand was already coming, and I was just like, "Oh,
here we go."
I said, "Here we go. It's time it's coming back now." And then it just turned into like every slap was just. It was even though they hurt, it was like love slaps. It was like we were showing love with every slap.
Yours hurt me. I don't know what you're talking about. Like getting a fucking frying pan.
Once he doesn't start going, it's all fake, meatball, it's all fake. You know, as long as he's not doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Sorry, that's my Rocky 3 thing.
We thank you for coming on, brother. We've had you on for a little over an hour. We appreciate it. I know you got stuff to do. You got stuff to do this morning. Absolutely, brother. It was great to have you on. At some point, it would be great if we could have you and Gallows together, because that would be some. Gallows is an entertaining motherfucker. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, he's the best. Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. He's one of the only guys that makes me laugh hard as hell.
Yeah, he and I we only crossed paths for a little while.
Right?
We were on one tour together. And we just fucking clicked and understood each other right away, you know. It was.
You guys I love it. Now, thanks for having. It's nice meeting you guys, Nick and Kim.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we wrap up, Nick and Ock, do you have anything else for chat before we wrap this baby up?
No, man. It's been a pleasure to listen to all the stories, and just continued success, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You guys too. Thank you.
Yeah, continued success, and thank you for taking the time to do this. This was really. It was a really good inside view of what you go through in the life of a professional wrestler, quite literally, and and the burden it is on you and the family, but how much you love it, and it's a really neat thing. So thank you for taking the time to do that. I think we got a side of it that people just normal people just have no idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, there's another edition of Legends of Iron. We got Machine Gun Karl Anderson joining us, and hopefully his story, going from literally the guy who just kind of quit college to go try to be a wrestler and now is at the top. He's making money. He's living the life. But the moral to the story is never fucking quit. We hope you enjoyed. We hope we motivated you all. We will see you next time.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by Muscle Mix.
Eating like a bodybuilder is not cheap. I mean, have you seen the recent cost of steaks lately? Thankfully, I'm able to get all my meals in and hit my macros for just a fraction of the price with Carnivore Lean Meal, Muscle's newest innovative whole food meal replacement.
Compare Carnivore Lean Meal to a typical bodybuilding meal. Carnivore Lean Meal stacks up in protein and carbs with none of the fat, but a carnivore shake is only about $3 per meal.
Get my 6 meal in. This is what I use right here. This is meal number 6. It's my Carnivore Lean Meal. It's a combination of carbs combined with protein. It's actually made from real sweet potatoes and white potatoes, so can't beat that. Tastes awesome. Love that product. And to top it all off, guys, it's lactose free and sugar free. Stop overpaying for your meals and eat clean with Carnivore Lean Meal. It's better than any meal you can cook yourself at a fraction of the price.